everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's Anniversaire de Historique for the final race of the championship, race 9 at Le Mans with the chicanes. And before we head into the action, let's have a look at the current championship standings. The title fight is still on. Mitch on 139 points, 13 ahead of SGP, who's 3 ahead of Steve F1, so it's a three-way fight for the championship. Demon R sits in 4th place, ahead of Conrad in 5th, Fluffy in 6th, Dave in 7th and Twilight in 8th. So yeah, very interesting challenge going for the championship today. Jason, he's on 9th place on 45 points, only a couple behind Twilight. Rich Blues in 10th, 1 ahead of Bunzel in 11th, who is a couple ahead of Formula Gary in 12th, and he's 1 ahead of Jimmy in 13th. So very tight in the midfield and the pack, and I wouldn't be surprised if a few positions change. Jimmy on 33, as I mentioned, Tyler on 18, SRI 13, Art Pal on 8, and Hay still on -4, unfortunately, because he wasn't able to race last week. Hopefully he'll be able to bag some points and get himself into the positive before the end. Right, let's have a look at how the qualifying result comes around. And on pole position for the last race of the championship, it is SGP. He's joined on the front row by his championship rival Mitch, both with fantastic lap times and a lockout of the front row. Championship battle is definitely going to be underway from the lights going out. On row 2 we've got Demon R lining up alongside Steve F1. Steve F1 perhaps a little bit off pace in qualifying there, but plenty for him to do to get into the fight. Row 3 sees SRI with a brilliant lap lining up alongside Twilight. Both of those still got places to fight for in the championship. On row 4, they're always together pretty much, at least they are a lot recently. Fluffy in 7th place and Dave the Harp lining up in P8. Row 5 sees Jimmy start alongside the almost similarly liveried Art Pal in P10. On row 6 we'll see Formula Gary starting alongside Bunzel. This will be a track that Bunzel's going to love. He does like a bit of a bump draft. On row 7 we're going to have Rich Blues lining up alongside Hay. Neither of those able to get a lap time in qualifying, but it is a long, difficult lap and a short qualifying time to get a lap in. And Jason will start P15. That'll round out the qualifying for this championship. So let's head over to the commentary team for all of the action and to see who's going to come out the winner. And joining me on commentary for the last race of the championship, it's Steve. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, looking forward to the final race.
And I'll tell you who else is ready, that's SGP and Mitch to battle it out for the championship. It will be decided here at Le Mans, mainly because there isn't another race after this one, not in this championship anyway. The drivers are going to have to contend with the tricky chicanes as the race gets underway in a few moments' time. SGP and Mitch will get through the first, or get through the chicane. Everybody else is going to have to come through them as the race is now underway and SGP makes a run towards turn 1.
Yeah, SGP in the position he needs to be to have any chance of the title today. Both SGP and Steve F1, they need to win this race and hope Mitch has a DNF basically. But yeah, but so far it's SGP in the lead and SRI has just passed Steve F1, so that's not what Steve F1 needs there.
Yeah, not going to plan for Steve F1 straight off the bat. I wonder if that was anything to do with the having to go through the chicanes there. Mitch is ever so close to the back of SGP as they're about to make that final right-hand turn onto the Mulsanne straight. Oh, Mitch running a little bit wide. He's going to have to be careful doing that during the course of this 50-minute race. I wouldn't be surprised though if we see him not attempt to pass, because it would be fairly easy for someone to say, well, you've only caught me and passed me because you went wide. It's a lot easier if you just don't make the move, especially when you've got a few more opportunities. Okay, SRI still got Steve F1 right behind him, but Steve F1 being closed in on by Twilight. Steve F1 making the move on SRI into the first of the chicanes. Can he get it slowed down in time? Yes, he can, and makes the move lovely as Jimmy's sideways in the background.
Yeah, so Steve F1 up to 4th and now Mitch getting into the slipstream of SGP for the lead, but yeah, at the moment he's not going to the move.
Is he though? He is going for it.
He's going for it, yeah, and I think he's got it done, has he? Yes. And SGP's coming back, but no, Mitch has got the position.
He has. The problem is, though, he's got SGP right up his gearbox, and he's got another couple of straights to go down. He may have been a little bit better off waiting to make the move into the hairpin, which I'm sure SGP is going to give a go now. Also, these two battling a little bit as they're going to allow Demon R to close that gap, and in the background we can see Steve F1 head in the pack at the moment. SGP pulls out to make the move on Mitch, so the championship rivals go at it into the hairpin. Mitch braking much later than SGP and runs a little bit wide, but just stays on the track. But SGP gets the move done, and now Mitch slots in behind.
Yeah, as you say, Mitch went for the move into that second chicane, and then he was then victim of the slipstream on the third part of the Mulsanne, and yeah, he's ended up back behind, so it just shows that you've got to pick your times of your moves around here. But then again, Mitch is now coming back, so this is going to be interesting. This is a brave move around the outside there, but he's got it done.
Yeah, the high-speed right-hander that these guys are going around now. It's such a tricky corner. Very easy to get your braking wrong and end up going straight on into this corner. I'm sure we'll see someone do it at some point. Oh, it's Hayes sideways into the barrier in the background. Oh, Fluffy's hit the back of Steve F1 and almost sent him into the gravel. Collected SRI there as well. And Twilight, a little bit of carnage there. Someone sideways in the background. Again, I think it was Fluffy. Oh, big disaster for Steve F1 there. But SGP, they're still trying to fire back on Mitch.
Yeah, that could have been so much worse. Stephen almost careering into SRI and Twilight as he was knocked out of control, so it's kind of could have been worse there. But yeah, it's so easy just into that tight hairpin to just get you braking a little bit too late.
Yeah, it looks like as well. Sorry, Demon R has just caught up to the back of SGP towards the end of the lap, as Mitch now trying to open up a little bit of a lead as they head into the final two chicanes. Such tricky corners these. If you get it right, it's rapid. If you get it wrong, you can lose so much time as Demon R making the move on SGP, but I don't think they're really going to want to go side by side into turn one. I mean, we've talked before on commentary about some of the differences between the battle at the front and the battle in the pack. I'm sure these two know they don't want to go side by side through the corners, and there you go, slots in behind because it's the faster way around the track.
Yeah, and we're hearing from trackside, Steve F1's been involved in the second incident, and he's now all the way at the back of the field. Something happened later in the lap, but at the front, it's now Demon R on the back of SGP for second, and Mitch has he got enough of a break here to break this toe on SGP?
He might have. I think you need about 7/10 of a second to be within the slipstream. But the interesting thing as well is, for Demon R, does he attempt at making the move on SGP, or does he bump draft him? Because I don't think there's much point in making an overtake into the first chicane. So if he bump drafts SGP, they both might catch up to Mitch, as we're having a quick look at Hay in the background as well, and Jimmy. And Jimmy's deciding, he ain't bump drafting anyone. He's going for the move, but Hay's got the slipstream, so Jimmy can't make the move.
Yeah, Jimmy, you saw a clip of Jimmy there, and now it's the front three, and they've all closed up now in the slipstream, so here, this is now a three-way battle, and SGP is coming back at Mitch.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a bit of SGP thinking, well, you tried to overtake me here, so I'm going to try and overtake you here. On this time, he's got the move done, but has he now compromised himself heading down into the third straight? Demon R there again, he'll be able to now perhaps bump draft Mitch. It's an interesting dynamic we got going on, because in this situation, Mitch wins the championship. This doesn't help SGP at all. He needs Mitch to base it. Oh, a little bit of contact. They're going to go three wide, are they? No, Demon R backs out of it. Probably a wise decision that, as SGP trying to go all the way around the outside, and he's got the move done. Oh, Mitch nearly loses it on the curb.
Yeah, I wonder if this is tactical from SGP, because they are just racing each other. They're not really working together in any way in the slipstream, are they? They're all just dice position. Is that maybe SGP's best chance? Is that could put Mitch more at risk in these wheel-to-wheel battles. He needs Mitch to have a bad race. So I wonder if SGP he's decided that's going to be the approach. He's got to go all out for the win.
Quite possibly, or at least get, kind of as you're saying, get Mitch in a situation where he's surrounded by other cars. Problem with that plan at the moment is there's only Demon R that's also involved in this battle at the moment. I mean, it's a great battle up at the front, and we're not really seeing what's going on in the pack at the moment as Twilight is heading the pack. But it's an interesting dynamic up at the front, as we say. Steve F1's trying to recover. He's just missing the wall there as Jimmy gets gets a little bit sideways, tags the side of Hay, but they both survive that. Rich behind them as well. So there's a bit of a gap then ahead of Steve F1. Gary, a little bit tight with Hay. I think may have to leave a little bit more room there.
Yeah, he did just squeeze Hay a little bit, didn't he, onto the dirty side of the track, but they all seem to get away with it.
Oh, no, they haven't.
A couple of cars have gone. Gary's one of those involved. I don't know who the other one was, but that's Bunsell. So yeah, just unfortunate there. Start the Porsche curve, so easy to just understeer off into that gravel trap. Yeah,
and it's such a fast set of corners as well that it can be. It can be very difficult to navigate through there if you're surrounded by cars. It's one of those tricky situations. SRI, after we saw him get collected a little bit after Fluffy nudged Steve F1. So SRI now attacking Twilight into turn 1 to try and retake that 4th place, and he's just about doing it, but Twilight's not giving it up. But this it's an interesting battle here, because Twilight's had a very difficult championship, to be fair. SRI has not been able to make all of the races, so he's had a bit of a tough one. But as we're saying that, looking back at the leaders again, and we're in a situation once again where the front 3 are so close together that absolutely anything could happen down the straight. I mean, again, who does Demon R do bump drafting? Does he overtake? Does SGP want him to overtake? Is SRI going to pass Twilight? We're going to find out. Yes, he is. He's going to try anyway.
Yeah, so these guys in this second group, they're all just trying to finish the season on a high, with a good result. They've all had mixed seasons. So yeah, I think this could be quite a fierce battle for this 4th spot.
It could.
Now we're back with the leaders again, and still it's just a 3-way fight, and they're still managing to pull away while they're battling.
Okay, SRI manages to get the move done on Twilight. Twilight taking a little bit too much curb there. But yeah, it's interesting that SRI and Twilight was side by side coming down the straight, but as we're seeing here with the leading trio, they're not bothering going side by side, they're just bump drafting. And the thing is, it's one of those things as well that if these 3 bump draft each other, they open up a gap to the pack, so when they pit, they can come out ahead of the pack. So they're kind of helping each other, but actually helping themselves, as well as Demon R now making the move on the 3rd of the straights. Is he going to get the move done on SGP? SGP is not going to want it at all, but Demon R's going to give it a try. And Mitch wants him to do it because he's trying to slot into his slipstream. Side by side they go into the hairpin, but SGP manages to cover it off, and Mitch now having a look on the exit.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely right what you said a moment ago about the pit stops. They're better off, the lead group are better off working together for the first few laps just to get that gap to the rest, and then they're free to then fight it out once they've got that gap, because then they're just making it an exclusive 3-way battle if they do that. But they're still going for it and coming into this fast right-hander. This is always a risky one to go for the move, but they've got it done.
That's a lovely bit of drive. SGP got a little sideways. I mean, it's fascinating that, yeah, it is as if they are picking and choosing the moments to attempt the overtakes. SRI and Twilight side by side again through that right-hander. Are they both going to get it slowed down in time? Yes, they are. Twilight retaking the position. Steve F1 recovering there, as well as Mitch now all over the back of Demon R. Yeah, so it looks like Demon R and Mitch are sort of timing when they're trying to attack, as Mitch now trying to make the move before they go into the Porsche curves, but he dips a wheel on the dirty bit. Is he going to keep it on the road? I think Demon R's going to have to give him a bit of room in the side by side through the Porsche curves. That's tricky. Mitch, I think, may have just lifted out of that one. I don't blame him. That inside line can be a little bit tricky there.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be going side by side to the Porsche curves. It's so high speed, you're going to compromise yourself so much and even risk an incident. So they used the right thing to kind of back out of it there. And we've got a pit stop. This is an early one for SGP. Yeah. I wasn't expecting them to come in so soon.
No, I mean, to be fair, I was kind of expecting 2 stops to be the course of the race today, because the last couple of laps on a 1 stop, you can lose so much time. Mitch may see then that this is the opportunity. Now's the time to not really hang about. He wants to get past Demon R, but again, there's not much point trying to do it on the first couple of straights on the Mulsanne, because you'll lose time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mitch, and to be fair, this will be a sign of whether Mitch has learned a lot over the last couple of championships. If he goes for the Twilight, don't know where he's going.
Yeah, that was an interesting line from Twilight there. But yeah, interesting. I think Steve F1 pitted on that lap as well, we believe, which for him is probably the right thing to do, trying to make up time, go for an early undercut and try and make up some ground to these lead three.
Interestingly as well, SGP has come out ahead of the pack just by a few seconds. All three wide into the right-hander. Don't want to be doing that really. Steve F1 there dipping a wheel after his pit stop. Going to have to be careful. Hay running in 12th at the moment. Bunsell 13th. Rich Blues 14th. And I am hearing as well that Jason was actually unable to get his car started off the line. So Jason already out of the race. And interestingly, Mitch is still behind Demon R. So I was going to touch on a little moment ago that I think there'd be a sign of whether Mitch has really learnt much over the last couple of championships, and the answer would be yes. Maximise your speed, or when you really need to, and overtake at the optimal point. Fluffy, Gary, Steve F1 and Artpan all battling here.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of the pack battles yet, but we're going to expect some fierce scraps in the pack today with the slipstreaming. And this is a good example of it now. We've got 2 or 3 wide coming into the second chicane. I don't know how this one is going to end.
If they all
got through it.
They have all got through in single file, funnily enough. They go in 2 by 2 and come out single file. So interestingly, Mitch has not been able to get past Demon R at the moment. Maybe that's kind of tactical if he's still bump drafting. If he bump drafts him here, then yeah, he's just trying to maximise his speed. He's not looking at making the move. Twilight and SRI still battling. They've been going at it for a few laps now, haven't they?
Yes.
Ooh, not anymore.
They've just cursed it right there.
Yeah.
But no, I mean these two at the front. Well, they are now going side by side.
Yeah,
it's in the best interest to work together, I think. Now with SGP having pitted,
yeah,
they really don't want to be holding each other up because they could end up losing quite a bit of time to SGP on those fresh tyres.
Definitely. So that's why Mitch has gone for the move, sort of going into the fast right-hander rather than any other point around the lap, because it would just cost them time. Question is, can Mitch now? Has he got any? I mean, he's shown great pace this championship. Has he got the pace to open up a gap now? Steve F1 is in a whole world of pain at the moment, stuck in the pack, but it's quite interesting for everyone else. They'll probably be sitting there going, "Hang on a minute, who's? Oh no, Gary! Oh, I think he's into the barrier." Or he may have just got away with it.
Yeah, there is a barrier that just sticks out next to that corner. So you do go in deep, you're just in risk of clobbering that barrier. But yeah, Steve F1's on fresh tyres, so that might help.
Ooh,
and someone else, the victim.
Tell you what, he's done well to save that and not take anybody with him. That's such a tricky position to have a crash, and he's doing so well to stay out of the way. To be fair, I've got to say, Ray was actually doing a really good race, being in 4th place, and he got unlucky, but he had the awareness there to realise that's one of the fastest parts of the track, and he needed to get out of the way. Demon R is into the pits, by the way. Is he going to get out ahead of SGP? I think, SGP pitted last lap? So yeah, it's a 1 lap undercut. Has he managed to, or overcut, undercut, and he does get through.
Yeah, those fresh tyres, they've given SGP that undercut. But yeah, talk about commentators, because they're just praising both Twilight and SRI and how well they've done. They've both been on the same lap, so yeah, that's unfortunate. I think Dave the Hart, looking at the timing tyres now in a stronger position, we know he's can be pretty handy around this track, so can he maintain that throughout the race?
Well, interestingly, one of the things that Dave has struggled with over the course of the last few championships is tyre wear. As SRI, I think, may have pitted, and he's back behind Twilight once again. Yeah, I think David Harper's as rich in the pits, and so is Bunsell. Dave's struggled with tyre wear, so around a track like this, if he can get that tyre wear under control, he could find himself in a really good situation. Mitch didn't pit, interestingly, to cover off SGP, so maybe he's thinking that SGP went for the really early pit stop to try and get Mitch to pit. But if Mitch is sort of burning his tyres up in 18 minutes, he's not going to be wanting to do 20-minute stints, as Hay is closing in on Artpal and actually getting past Artpal. Must have had a decent run there. Either that or Artpal's had a bit of an issue somewhere, because Fluffy is now all over the back of him as well. Yeah, I think Artpal's struggling on his tyres, and Fluffy got big sideways then.
Yeah, the speed in which he was passed by Hay there. I just assumed Hay had braked too late, but no, it must have been Artpal just braking early on those tyres, because he just absolutely flew past him under braking and made the corner. And now he's under pressure from Fluffy as well, so I wonder if his tyres are now just coming to the end of their useful life.
Quite possibly, but he's trying to make the move on Hay back into the second chicane, but there's a bit of contact between the two of them. Nearly collects Fluffy. Twilight gets through as well. SRI now getting in the mix as well. Yeah, I think Artpal was a little bit over ambitious there. Got sideways under braking, and Hay and Artpal managed to survive, but they both just lost 3 places.
Yeah, on this track, I mean, it's the low grip or whatever, but there's definitely a lot of people struggling for rear grip and getting it sideways at some of these chicanes. So yeah, if you just, particularly at the end of the stints when the tyres are going, you've got to be so careful. Yeah, but fortunately in that incident, then everyone seemed to just about get through without any major incident.
Did. Interestingly, Twilight and SRI battling it out once again right behind Fluffy. Artpal and Hay side by side once. No, it's not. It's Jimmy and Hay side by side. Artpal's right behind them, I think. Getting a little bit busy. Is that Twilight trying to make the move on Fluffy? No, it's Twilight making the move on SRI. Hay's gone a little bit deep there, I think. I can't see where he's ended up. Okay, survived. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's always one of the riskiest parts of the track there. It's so easy just to get it wrong and outbrake yourself and off and
like that.
Yeah, just like that, exactly.
Yeah. To be fair, I think it is Artpal's first race around here in a long time. We're talking, I don't know if he's ever actually raced around here before, so very limited practice for him. Jimmy's all out of shape, he's on the grass, he's going off, Fluffy's going off as well. And Mitch into the pits, by the way, so race leader into the pits is Jimmy, has absolutely buried it in the gravel, and I think Mitch is going to come out behind SGP for definite, probably behind Demonar as well, as we're having a look at. Hey, we're on board with Gary. Stephen Horn, why don't you take us for a lap on board with Formula Gary?
Okay, so we're coming to these final 2 chicanes of the lap. He's coming into the pits, so he's a...
Hang on a minute.
Hang on. No, that's definitely not how you take that chicane.
Someone needs to tell him, turn left on the pit entry. Excuse me.
That's an example of how not to take a corner there.
Definitely. On the slowest part of the track, he turned the wrong way. Interestingly, Mitch did come out behind SGP, but just in front of Demon R. So Mitch's pace on these last couple of laps has worked for him. And interestingly as well, with both Demon R, SGP pitted 8 minutes ago, which when you think about it sounds like an absolute age, but it is only 2 laps ago. So 2 laps newer tyres for Mitch compared to SGP, as Demon are getting all over the curbs and a bit out of shape and losing a bit of time there as well.
Yeah, so the front 3 as they were now after the pit stops, and now we're looking at Fluffy and Twilight. So Twilight seems to have made a bit of a recovery from that spin. Now he's back up into 7th. And Hay this time he has got.
Oh no! You know what? I think Twilight may have taken evasive action from Hay there, and it ended up with Fluffy being able to make the overtake. I'm not exactly sure what I just saw though.
But I think Hay just got his braking a bit wrong there, and just went deep and somehow managed to recover it. But
Demon R making the move on Mitch. Demon R's got warmer tyres than Mitch, because obviously Mitch has just come out of the pits straight onto the Mulsanne straights pretty much. The tyres won't be up to temperature, so Demon aren't making the move. But thinking forward, Steve, if SGP's pitted on 10 minutes, he's either got to do 2 20-minute stints or split it up more. Demon R's done a lap less, so he may be out of kilter with him, but Mitch could actually be in a good situation to have fresher tyres at the end of the race.
Yeah, we've seen that from Mitch before this season, because he is harder on his tyres. He tends to try and like to pit late for his final stop, so that he doesn't run into trouble in his final lap. So yeah, maybe that's his thinking today. He just wants to have those fresh tyres at the end, particularly with the championship on the line. He just wants to, have the best tyres he can.
Yeah, definitely. And knowing Mitch, if he's anything like the rest of us, he'd want to finish the championship with a win. SGP. Contact between Hay and Arpal there. Can they get it slowed down before the corner? Just about. that could have been disastrous for Twilight there. I think Arpal may be trying to let Twilight through. Yes, he is. But it did look a little bit like Arpal was pushed a bit there by Hay. Difficult to say when you really come onto an incident quite late like that. But yeah, I think Twilight got very lucky there.
Yeah, that's a real common hazard in those two corners. You come through the downhill right hand, it's so easy to go off onto the runoff area on the left, and then you're just out of control, and it's so easy then just to cream into people at the next corner. So yeah, I thought that we were going to see a big incident there, but fortunately not. And now the front three.
I've got to say, it's fascinating that the front three have pretty much been neck and neck since lap 1.
Yeah, and I think they're racing smart now, aren't they? They're picking their points to do the overtaking. Through these corners, there's no point in racing each other because you're just going to be losing time. You're better off just waiting for the Mulsanne straight to pick your opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, looking at how close they are to each other. Yeah, they could chuck it up the inside, but it's not going to work. Well, it might work, but it's going to lose time. So if Demonar attacks SGP, chances are Mitch is coming past them. And if Mitch attacks Demonar, then SGP is going to run away. And the other thing as well is they're going to have to be aware of Steve F1, who is slowly closing in. He's managed to break away from the pack. May see him in the background. No, camera's just changed. But yeah, again here. Okay, Demonar is close enough to overtake SGP, but is he going to? No, he's going to bump draft him. Open up that gap to Mitch. Now Mitch can't attack Demonar, and Demonar's got a better opportunity of bump drafting SGP down the second straight and attempting an overtake in the third. If you're Mitch, however, you're probably sat there going, stop helping him.
Yeah, as you say, we just saw for the first time Steve from the same camera shots. So for him, for the first time, he'll be seeing them in front of him, and he'll be just hoping they're battling each other and holding each other up to bring him back into play.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Demonar close enough to attack, but again goes for the bump draft in because more than likely knows the best thing to do is focus on the exit here, get a decent run onto this final straight, it's not the final straight, but onto this third part of the straight to try and make the move into the hairpin. So getting the slipstream, pulls out, side by side they go, who's going to be better on the brakes. And let's not forget SGP on the slightly older tyres, but only by a lap to Demonar. And Steve F1, yeah, definitely is in the background, but SGP's fighting this. You know what, I like that. SGP is saying no, if you want it, you're going to have to work for it.
Yes, the SGP's putting up a real defence here. I think he's got to, really, because he absolutely has to win this race to have any chance of the title.
Yeah.
But Demonar, I think he'll be definitely wanting to finish the season on a high as well. He got his first win for quite a while this season, and I think he'll be hungry to get another one. So he's not going to give SGP any favours in this one.
Side by side through the flat out right-hander, and SGP manages to hang on. I mean, again, it's good driving. It's driving in. I mean, SGP and Demonar have managed to battle without coming under attack from Mitch, and that's the big difference. Let's see what's going to happen here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see David Hart do a bit of bump drafting, but into the next corner is actually a good place to attempt an overtake, as long as you're not more than 2 wide. So David Hart may try slotting around the outside. Is he? He's kind of looking. He's lurking. He's going for the inside. Arpal's having none of it. Can he get it slowed down? David Hart going for the move up the inside. Can't quite get it done.
Yeah, that's where the experience comes in with SGP and Demonar, with all the wins and the championships they've won. And yeah, as you can see, there's a few kind of late moves going on here, isn't there? Where you see with the leaders, they're kind of picking their moments, and that just comes with experience, with the amount of races they've won and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting to just note the differences we're seeing between the way these league cars are battling those in the pack.
I tell you what, Demonar's carrying a lot more speed through the final chicane than SGP is. I suppose it's one of those things. Demonar's got nothing to lose here. He can afford to sort of push it in a few places. Like the final chicanes here, we all know you get it wrong, you can end up facing the wrong way, you can end up getting reset, you can lose multiple positions and loads of time. But for SGP, he can't afford to do that. For Demonar, it doesn't matter, he's not in the championship fight. He will want to win the race, but he's not got anything to lose. Fluffy into the pits, and interestingly now Mitch is close enough now to make things a little bit interesting here. What is he going to do? Is he going to go for a bit of a bump draft, or is he going to go for the move? Actually, perhaps just losing a little bit of time through the right hander there.
Yeah, and now this is your best place to make a move, I think, coming down the Mulsanne. But no, he is bump drafted him, so yeah, Demonar is just, I think he's biding his time, waiting for the right place to try and make a move here.
I'm wondering if Mitch is perhaps trying to look after his tyres a bit heading onto the Mulsanne straight, because that first straight he definitely seems to be losing a bit of ground to Demonar and SGP. Interestingly, Demonar looks like he's making the move on the second straight on this occasion, perhaps getting fed up of following SGP, so he's decided, now, you know what, I'm going to go for it. So he is now ahead, but SGP is going to retry taking the position, and again Mitch a little bit too far back to really benefit from the slipstream.
Now this is where we've seen the improvement in Mitch this season, because this is really smart what he's doing. Being in third car, no, SGP's so lucky not to lose it on that curb there. But yeah, Mitch, he's basically just playing a waiting game now as that third car. He doesn't need. There's no point in fighting these two cars in front. But as I say, that it looks like he's trying to, but he can just sit back, look after his tyres that little bit, and then he'll come stronger at the end of the stint. So yeah, we've seen this with Mitch a few times this season, where he's getting wiser and you know, knowing how to play the long game in the races.
Yeah. I mean, it was something, I know we mentioned it on commentary, I think it was from one of the DGT Seaside races a couple of championships ago, where he was going flat out through the bus stop chicane, and it's one of those things where it comes with a risk. If you don't crash, you'll be rapid, but if you do crash, you're in a whole world of pain. And since then he's really worked on, I think he's realised that he doesn't have to attempt an overtake at every possible opportunity. Picking and choosing those moments really, like now, he could dive up the inside, but if he does, it could cost him time. So he's better off looking after his tyres a little bit and following these guys and putting them under pressure, because as you know, Steve, it's not easy to have someone this close to the back of you and cope with that pressure.
Yeah, it's also always easy to underestimate how hard it is when you're the lead car and you've got a car in your mirror. Just having that presence, knowing one little mistake and they're going to pounce. Yeah, that is pressure, even when you're not side by side. Yeah, you definitely feel the pressure from that. So yeah, when you're on the other side of it and you're behind, you know that, and you can just keep your car there, just being enough of a nuisance to keep them under pressure.
Yeah, SGP struggling a little bit. He's late into the pit lane there. Oh, and he's done it, Gary. He's done it a bit faster than Gary, but yeah, I think he went into that pit lane a little bit too late and way too a little bit hot.
Yeah, I think that pit entry, if you come into the pit, you have to commit early, because you've got to brake early, and I think, yeah, he just committed far too late and couldn't get it stopped, so he's matched Gary for the David Coulthard kind of moments this race.
That he has. I mean, interestingly as well, it's actually 2 minutes earlier than I was expecting him to pit, because I mean, somehow we've got 28 minutes into this race as we see the pack heading towards the final few chicanes. Twilight behind Gary, trying to put some pressure on him. Oh, pow! Closing in rapidly. I think may have just tagged the back of Twilight there, but Twilight manages to keep on going. Going to have to be careful a bit of how much curbs are used there, but I can imagine, I can understand people being very cautious around the curbs in the final chicanes, because they are evil. So we've got Jimmy and Arp out side by side, but I mean, this is a situation, I mean, it's easy for us to sit here going, oh well, these guys should just follow each other, they'll be quicker as Gary runs a little bit wide, that's going to compromise him. But it is so difficult as a driver to lift off the throttle at a point where you'd perhaps normally be flat out.
Yeah, it's always tempting to go for the mirrors, particularly if you've got a good overspeed on someone. So yeah, it's not always easy to just it's kind of against the normal instincts to back off. But again, it's just something that comes with experience. And now Mitch, maybe now he's played that waiting game, and now he's decided he's going to go for it.
Yeah.
With SGP in the pits now, maybe he thinks I'm going to get a move on.
Well, that's the thing with the fresher tyres. It's a perfect opportunity to do that. He's got 1 lap fresher tyres than Demon R. He had 2 lap fresher tyres than SGP. He'll know that SGP's just had a crash on the way into the pit, so lost a bit of time there. But lurking in the background still is Steve F1, who's still in with a chance here as Demon Art goes for a repass into the hairpin. And interestingly, Mitch kind of cautious there, but he's got a lot to lose as Mitch.
He certainly has, yeah. He only needs to finish, so he doesn't really need to take any risk this race. It doesn't matter in terms of the championship where he finishes first, second or third, but maybe the race is instinct in, and still he wants to take the title with the win as well. So he's got the lead back. but they're going to be careful because they battle too much. SGP, although he has lost a lot of time, of course, still could come back into play.
Yeah, I mean, Steve F1 is about to appear in the background. If we see him, no, the camera moved. But to be fair, SGP is not far behind Steve F1, and I mean, it's not a particularly long pit stop here. It costs about 10 seconds in total. Fluffy and Jimmy have just gone a little bit deep there into the hairpin. They're now going to end up 3 wide. Twilight, Fluffy, Gary, and if you're Art Pal and Jimmy, there isn't really anywhere for you to go here. And this is where it's difficult, as we're saying, it's difficult to go, you know what, I'll just lift off the throttle a bit, there's nowhere for me to go. It is difficult to do, but at the same time, if you make it 4 wide, where are you going to go? Because you're not going to go around a corner very quick. Gary at the head of this, Twilight having a look, Gary giving him the room, Twilight trying to make the move, Fluffy late on the brakes, they're still side by side. I'd be amazed if they do exactly what they've done and got around it. Well done.
Yeah, I don't know how they've all got around there. It's again, you see, it's so difficult to get the car stopped into that corner, but they all did it, but now they're going for it again. It's Twilight and Gary, I think, side by side at the front.
Steve F1 into the pit, sorry.
Yeah, I imagine he'll come out behind SGP from what we give the gap there, and they've all just about, have they got through the Porsche curve? First part, yeah, it looks like they have. And they've all gone single file. That's probably a smart thing for them to do.
Yeah, Art Powell getting close to the back of Gary there as well, giving him a little bit of a nudge. Or Gary maybe taking a bit too much curb there, running wide. So's Hay in the background and Bunsell.
If you're getting carried away on the exit of that corner there, taking a lot of run off.
Ooh, Art Powell, I think, has just nudged the back of Gary, sent him across to the chicane. He survived it. Oh no, he's going straight. Oh no.
Oh no, yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate for Gary there. He got a little nudge into the first part, and then, yeah, unfortunately just got his line wrong into the second part, and that's resetting.
I think Bunsell got reset into the pits. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I've definitely not seen that before.
No, interestingly, Demon R didn't pit to cover off SGP pit in the lap before. Interesting that Steve F1 has now pitted, so Steve F1 can get to the end now, and he's on 1 lap fresher tyres than SGP, but he's behind SGP. David Harp sitting in 5th at the moment, got a bit of a gap to Twilight and Fluffy and SRI, who has just pitted, and yeah, so SRI on fresh tyres, but he's got Fluffy ahead of him, and Jimmy right up his chuff. Ooh, camera just got destroyed. So yeah, Jimmy's got a decent opportunity here to attack, but to be honest, I think SRI will stick in the slipstream. There won't be much you can do about it. But yeah, for Demon R and Mitch, I would expect to keep going for another lap or 2. For Demon R, I would have expected him to come in, unless he's thinking about how much time he's losing on his tyres as SRI gives the bollard a bit of a walloping, and Jimmy gets all kinds of sideways.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if because SGP's hit the pit wall, that's just brought the lead to a bit of time, so they can afford to go a little bit longer without losing track position to SGP. But the thing is now, Steve F1's also got the fresh tyres, so this could bring not just SGP back into this lead battle, but Steve F1.
This could be tricky. Jimmy's gone late on the brakes there. Did you know it was Art Powell went late on the brakes there, and it's worked for him, but he's a little bit slow mid-corner. Sorry to cut you off there, Steve. Yeah, a little bit slow mid-corner, and SRI's got the run on him, and Jimmy giving him the bump draft. So it was a risky attempt. It worked, but unfortunately in the long run it didn't. So I guess you could say it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean a few times where they've gone bold for these overtakes, but at least they don't want to put the kisses out there, but they are looking like they're giving each other space. So yeah, and again there you can see they've all got through fine. So yeah, as long as they're giving each other space and sticking to the limits, then it's all good.
Yeah, I mean it's all well and good me sitting there saying, oh, just won't draft each other and follow. No, okay, I want them attacking each other because it gives us great action and it is great to see. It's just one of those. It's kind of like. The concept of, if you want in DGT League, if you want to break away from the pack, you don't do it by pushing really hard, because you ain't going to break away from the pack. Mitch into the pits, by the way. Demon R into the pits, and interestingly, Demon R's last couple of lap times were considerably off pace, so maybe pitting earlier had hurt him on the tyres, and maybe that's why he's sort of followed Mitch in at the time he has. SGP, is he going to retake the lead of the race? But he's been on these tyres for 8 minutes already. Where are the guys in the pit lane? There's Mitch. Oh, he's transported to the pit exit. He is going to retake the lead. De Minaur is going to come out in third, but is SGP going to retake the lead into turn one? He's going to try side by side. He's got the warmer tyres. That'll be move done. Great battle continues now then.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't quite see the times SGP's been posting those fresh tyres, other than the last lap where he posted a low 3:28, which is, that is fast on fresh tyres. So that's catapulted him back into this lead battle, despite that losing a big chunk of time in the pits. So it's game on again at the front.
Definitely. And again, I want to apologise for anyone that raced in the pack here, that's wanting to watch what happened and have us commentate on it. Unfortunately, we've got a cracking battle for the lead of the race. We've got 4 people now on that first straight, all race winners. 3 of them are champions. Mitch is on the verge of taking a championship. He's on the verge of taking the lead of the race as he makes the move into the first of the Mulsannes. This is definitely not a situation now where Mitch and SGP are going to be helping each other out. This is just all about who is going to be overtaking who, and who is going to be taking the win.
Yeah, Steve F1's getting a huge amount of time in those last couple of laps with his pit stop. He's suddenly right back in this now. So this is now becoming a 4-way battle, and here we go. It's the 2 main contenders going wheel to wheel now at the front, and SGP is just held on for the moment.
Some nice overtakes. So these two going hell for leather and sort of passing the torch to each other. But this is fascinating because I wouldn't be surprised if SGP is sat in there going, I don't mind, if you want to overtake, I'm going to attack you back, because if we battle, they're going to catch up behind, and if that means that they get involved with Mitch and potentially something happens, that could work for SGP. For Mitch, he's in a situation where now we can just kind of enjoy whatever may happen, or gone a little bit deep but survives. But yeah, we can see they're battling, and here comes De Minaur and here comes Steve F1. Oh.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see what these two do at the front. Are they just going to go for it here, or are they going to try and work together and keep the chasing 2 at arm's length?
I don't think there's any working together here. SGP is trying to, he's going for it up the inside in the fast right-hander. Oh, just backs out of it. Don't blame him. Mitch taking the inside line, trying to hold on to the position. Is SGP going to have a look at the inside into the hairpin? No. So even though SGP is on the attack, he's still not attacking in the places where it's really too dangerous to. Well, it's not too dangerous, but it could be too costly to try and get it wrong. Interestingly, now De Minaur is on the back of SGP. But this is a situation where, to be fair, De Minaur's actually been on the pace here, and he's not going to want to hang about at this stage of the race with 11.5 minutes to go, because Steve F1 is right behind him, and De Minaur and Steve F1, are they still in a battle for third in the championship, or I think Steve F1 may have a big enough gap that he'd need to not finish to lose that third place?
Yeah, I think mathematically De Minaur can still get third, but I think he does need Steve F1 to drop a few more positions. But I think Steve F1 is only about 3 points behind SGP in second, so he might still be thinking, I can take second in the championship from SGP as he closes in.
True.
That might be one of his motivation is trying to catch these guys up.
Well, to be fair, if Steve F1 is only 3 points behind, that means he's still actually in with a chance of the championship, but it'd mean that both Mitch and SGP need to pretty much score no points, which could happen. De Minaur getting very close to the back of SGP now. SGP still in touch with Mitch, and Steve F1 closing in. He'll be enjoying seeing what he's seeing ahead of him. He'll probably want them battling a bit more, but yeah, I'll tell you what though, Steve, this has been a very interesting race to commentate on, because it's the longest circuit, I think, of the calendar, but it's gone so fast as the bald-headed marshal walks past. But it's making me hungry. I don't really know why, but I'm starving at the minute.
It's a punchline.
No punchline. I just thought I'd mention that I'm absolutely starving. I'm starving. SGP is not going for a bomb draft down the first straight. He's going for the overtake into the first of the chickens. Oh, De Minaur, I think he's just bomb drafted Mitch. I don't know if it was by accident. I doubt it had been on purpose, but he's just put Mitch back into the lead of the race. So, well, if there was any question of whether De Minaur is helping SGP here, the answer is no, because he's just put Mitch back into the lead.
Yeah, I think you can see where De Minaur's loyalty's lying. That was a nice assisted overtake.
Yeah, it was it? Okay, what they're going to do side by side then into the second chicane. We do like to call the chicanes chickens. Mitch, has he got the lead? Yes, he has still just got the lead. Steve F1 really is now closing in. So if one of these guys wants to do something special to try and keep Steve F1 out of arm's reach here, they're going to have to get on with it because he's almost within slipstream range. Demon R, I think, close enough to SGP to give him a bit of a bump. Draft is he? He's having a little peeky look out of the side. SGP having a look into the hairpin, but not quite going for it. But yeah, still a great battle going on here as SRI, after he pitted, he was stuck behind Fluffy for a while. He's now got Twilight in front of him. SRI and Twilight have pretty much battled all the way through this race as well. They did for the first 20 minutes. And behind SRI, Rich Blues, formerly Gary and Bunsell, side by side by side. SRI sees that and looks like he's trying to say, don't come at me, boys.
Yeah, I think David Harp looking at track that's got a nice little gap on these guys in fifth, so he's got a good opportunity to get a pretty lonely fifth place finish there.
SGP's got ahead of Mitch. Sorry, we didn't actually see him make the move, unfortunately. But yeah, he has got ahead of Mitch. Mitch trying to repass now as they make their way towards the more technical part of the circuit. Interestingly, Steve F1 has dropped off a little bit, so maybe he was just out of slipstream range and wasn't able to get the benefit of that. As side by side they go in towards the Porsche, curves into the entry, and Mitch has tried hanging around the outside once, decides not to do it on this occasion, slots in behind, and it's not a bad decision to make that. So as they head towards the final sector, I mean, we've only got 8 minutes left of this race, and it's been a brilliant race, especially from these guys up at the front, and I don't know if it's just my screen where the car seems to be going a little bit sort of blurry and slow through the exit of the Porsche curve, but there we go. SGP, but SGP's off the road.
No.
No!
Set him. That's a disaster. That's going to cost him dearly. Yeah, that's going to cost him a good 6 or 7 seconds, maybe more. And he's even dropped behind Steve F1. So look how much that has cost him. Yeah. If anyone thought this race for him hung on that pit entry, not anymore. It's just hung on that reset. It's devastating. I mean, I think SGP is going to be annoyed with that one because it's not like he's been hit. He's made a mistake and he's ended up going straight on and he's ended up being reset. He's unfortunately got no way. He could blame someone else, but I don't think he can blame the dog for that one. No, Gizmo, it's not your fault. Yeah, for anyone that knows Steve's dog, you'll know what I'm on about there. But yeah, so SGP will be a bit frustrated. SRI's got ahead of Twilight, so they're going to battle in towards the final chicane. Side by side they go. SRI manages to hold on to the position for now. Gary in the background as well as Jimmy, I think it is. Gary takes a lot of curb there, a lot of sausage, and ends up a bit chunkier than he wanted to be. So you can tell I'm hungry because I mentioned sausage. Yeah, well.
Yeah, the thing is though, it does remind me when I was in backpacked in the Netherlands for like 3-4 months, and how much I used to really enjoy eating eggs Benedict. Those were the Holland days. Boo boo! Someone ain't gonna get that. Someone will. For anyone that doesn't get it, you can message me afterwards. Do you get it, Steve? No. Oh dear. You could ask SRI, he's a chef, he'll get it. Okay, Demon R's attacking Mitch as they make their way towards the right-hander, the hairpin at the end of the main straights. And mentioned earlier that Demon R pitted at the same time as Mitch, potentially because to avoid the drop-off on the last couple of laps. If that is the case, it'll be interesting to see what Demon R and Mitch's pace is like, because at the end of the previous stint, Mitch was quicker. So it'll be interesting to see what can happen here. But at the same time, Mitch is now in a situation where, really, he doesn't need to, he's going for it though. I was going to say he doesn't need to try and win the race. He's covered, SGP's behind him, but he is going to go for it. Clearly, he wants to end the championship with a win, and he's going to make the move through the right-hander. Excuse me. Talking too much waffle.
More food, not like doing your hunger any good.
Not at
all. But yeah, Mitch is, I think he does want to go out with a win here, doesn't he? And he's in a good position now. looking like a two-way fight for the win.
Dean Ross trying to make the move though, heading towards the Porsche curves. He's got the inside line. I mentioned a lap or two ago that we've seen Mitch try going around the outside of the Porsche curves on the entry there before, and it doesn't quite work because you get onto the dirty bit of the track there, Steve, and it can easily just pull you out into the gravel.
Yes, there's so many little places around here where you can just get it slightly wrong and you're off the road. I think Demon has got an advantage. He's got a bit of an advantage here because if it comes to a last lap wheel-to-wheel battle for the win, he can just take that little bit more risk on that last lap to get the win. Whereas
Mitch
cannot afford to end up having an incident.
Interestingly as well. As Hayes into the barrier, you mentioned about David Harp having a bit of a gap to the pack, and you're absolutely right. He has got a gap to the pack. SRI is the head of the pack at the moment. Fluffy sideways. Excuse me, didn't say exactly what happened there, but yeah, Fluffy was sideways. So David Harp's in a very good situation. This is what I was on about. I'm wondering whether David Harp has taken on board stuff that has been said in the past, like I mentioned earlier. You don't break away from the pack by pushing too hard, by pushing really hard. You break away from the pack by being consistent and getting the corners right and carrying the speed that way. Make less mistakes and you can pull away, because if the pack is going to battle, then you're going to be free to drive off into the distance, and Dave's been able to do that today. SRI's been able to do that through that current sector as Twilight runs a little bit wide. Jimmy comes under pressure from Gary. Gary's looking very racy. He's going to go for it. Is he? No.
Yeah, I think wise to back out there's quite a risky place to be making the move. You're better off waiting for the straights to try and make your moves. So that was smart to back out there, I think. But now he's going to have another go. He might have an opportunity into turn one.
Hey, you know what, Steve? This might be these drivers' last lap. 3 minutes to go, and it's a 3:33 lap. I think they are going to be on. Jimmy's out of shape in the first chicane. That's going to give Twilight and Gary the position, and Art Pal the position. As again, a little bit physical down in towards the first sector of chicanes. Art Pal giving Gary a few nudges there. Oh no, now we're sideways. Marshall's heading away, and is that Buntle sideways as well?
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It looked like Gary was involved in it instead of going into the corner, and then it's just there's been cars then caught up in it behind. But yeah, our Marshall friend on the outside was a brave man, just standing there with all that was going on. I'd have been running forever.
Same here. It's a little bit like when you're watching the F1 recently, and they're going on about he's looking for a toe out of turn 2, and I'm thinking, well, the only ones you're going to find are Grosjeans, and they're in the end of his boot.
Yeah.
I made that myself as a bad joke. If he'd have died, then it'd be a really bad joke, but he didn't. He survived, so it's an okay joke. But yeah, I mean, difficult to see what exactly happened on that angle there. But what we have got is Dave the Harp still with that gap. I think SRI may have. Yeah, he's got a gap now as well. Jimmy's trying to fend off Gary, is it? No, it's Twilight. It's Art Pal he's battling with, sorry. Fluffy there as well. No, it is Jimmy. Jimmy and Art Pal's cars look too similar.
Yeah, I don't want to speak too soon, but yeah, I think in general what we're seeing in the pack today has been good. The bits we have seen, there's not been too many incidents. I think a lot of the time they've been giving each other space, so a lot of drivers throughout the championship again showing they're improving, which is good to see.
Yeah, waiting for it.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I know from having watched a lot of these guys drive for a number of championships now, there are certain corners where in the past we have seen many crashes, and it does appear to be a lot less on occasion. It's funny, you said a moment ago as well, was it, I don't want to speak too soon. Almost sounds like the title of a James Bond movie. So, I don't want to speak. Right, oh no, what we got here, Twilight. He's trying to make a move on Fluffy, can't quite get it done, but I think Hayes off the track there. Jimmy's in trouble, Fluffy's in trouble as well. Oh dear. Just as I was mentioning about not as many crashes.
Yeah, I think one or two got carried away there. I think 4-1 was a little bit ambitious there. That was always going to end in tears, I think, but it is the last lap, so maybe a bit of desperation. Another these guys creeping in.
Another James Bond film title. It's all going to end in tears. I was too busy laughing about, like, I don't want to speak too soon, and risky move on Bunsell, backs out of it though, nearly gets caught by Jimmy, and yes, it is, by the way, it is definitely these guys' last lap of the race. So I think Dave the Harm, yeah, he is going to be the first to see the checkered flag, but he's not going to be the winner of the race. But I've got to say, he's had an absolute blinder here, to be fair. He's done really well to break away and finish in 5th place. I think he will be absolutely delighted with that. Sometimes you just have to say those guys ahead have done a great job, and Dave has done a great job as well. 5th place it will be for him. Oh, Twilight and SRI battling through the final corners. Twilight's into the gravel. And around he goes. Oh no, Disaster is going to lose 3 places as Rich comes sideways around the final corner. Difficult to see exactly what was happening with SRI and Twilight there, because it seemed we came to it as it was already kicking off, as Fluffy got caught up in that collision later in the lap earlier on, finishing in 12th place. Hay 13th. I think we may have lost Gary. I think we've lost Gary after that collision we saw in the hairpin as well. But the leaders, the front 4, they're still on a lap, so they've still got 1 lap to go. Demon R leading the way, Mitch in 2nd, Steve F1 in 3rd, SGP in 4th, and you know what? I'm going to say, I may commentators curse this now. I've got to say fair play to all 4 of these guys. The 4 drivers driving the extra lap are all DGT champions, unless Mitch gets disconnected. We've got Demon R with 6 titles, Mitch in 2nd place, currently leading the championship, about to win his first championship in the DGT League. Steve F1 in 3rd place, who was at a fantastic comeback race, actually, comeback season after getting disconnected early on. 2 championships to his name, and then SGP in 4th place with the 1 championship, that fantastic one he had in the Supra. So I, in a way, I want to kind of applaud these guys in that they've definitely shown the quality that they've got over the course of this championship, and especially in this race. There's not been a collision between the 4 of them, partly because Steve F1 has only just got involved in it, but those 3 battling at the front for majority of the race, and not a single collision between them apart from when it was a bump draft.
Yeah, I think it's not the first time this season we've seen these 4 getting the extra lap. They have just been a class apart, haven't they, over the season, and they've all won races this season. So, fair play to them. Just been the relentless pace, lap after lap that we've seen in previous races, just continued today, and without any contact or incident. So, definitely echo that. It's been an impressive season from the 4 of them.
Yeah, and for Mitch, after the mistake of calling him a disappointment, he's done nothing short of been absolutely brilliant over the course of this championship. Demon R may be going on to win this race, but Mitch ain't going to care about that, because he's about to cross the line to become the 4th DGT champion for the first time for him, as he spins it across the line. Don't lose your rear wing, the marshals will need that to push you along. Steve F1 finishes in 3rd place, and SGP is eventually going to cross the line in 4th. And to be fair, I think SGP will probably congratulate Mitch, because Mitch has been on another level this season.
Yeah, well done to Mitch, you have to say. Over the season, you've got to say he's been the best driver. He's had quite a healthy lead in the championship for most of it, and I think in the end he did win the most races, 3 wins, and then in the latter stage of the season he's just been good at picking up those podiums, consolidating that advantage, and he has pulled it all together this season with strategy and consistency and looking after the tyres, and you're going to take your hats off to a well-deserved first DGT championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, we've said before. I mean, there's many different sort of sayings in racing. You don't win a race on at the first corner, but you can lose it. Go slower to go faster. The harder you push, the slower. There's all those different kinds of things. And another one is, this is one I'm kind of making up on the fly, but it's not about the races you win. It's about where you finish when you don't win. Because in the races where Mitch hasn't won, if he finishes outside the top 5, he's not winning the championship. But if he's finishing 2nd and 3rd in the races that he's not winning, that's what gives you that extra opportunity. That's where the consistency comes from it. And we've seen it from Demon R in previous championships. We've seen it from Steve F1 in different championships. We've seen it from SGP in different championships as well. It's about when you have an off day how off is it going to be? So, for example, Steve F1 in this race, it would appear he's having a bit of an off day early on, but he ends up in third. So it's about, okay, he's not won the race, but he's finished third. If there was another 10 races to do, if the lowest he finishes is third, then that's where you go, okay, that's how consistent they've been. And for Mitch, in previous championships, there's been times where he's finished further down the order, whether it be through making mistakes on track or getting caught up in collisions, whatever it is. But I'm pretty sure his lowest position in this championship, I'm pretty sure it was either third or fourth. I don't think he finished lower than that.
No, I think both Mitch and Steve F1, their worst results this season were third places. So that's the consistency that gets you those championships. And the same SGP, you know, every race he's been top 3 or 4. Demon are exactly the same. That's why these guys over the course of the season will consistently end up at the top. As you say, it's often your kind of worst result that's the kind of sums up the season.
Steve F1, the prime example. If he hadn't got disconnected, where would he have finished, or where could he have finished? Because, I mean, before this race it was 15 points behind Mitch, I think, something like that, 15-16 points behind Mitch. And if you think, okay, if he'd have finished third in the race where he got disconnected, that would have been 15 points. So it's very easy. It sounds bad, but it's very easy to go, without that disconnection, you got another championship contender. But if you're Mitch, he's like, thank God he got disconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can only make the most of the opportunity that presents yourself, and that's where Mitch is. Yeah, he's done everything right, hasn't he? It's sort of if buts and maybes. Who knows what would have happened when you have disconnection? That all you can do is get your head down and make the best of it from there. And yeah, Steve F1 has done that as well. So it's fantastic season from all of them.
I think I want to say again. I mean, for SGP, I mean, it's another championship where going into the last race, he's got a chance of winning the championship. I mean, I don't know how many times that's happened, but it seems to be almost every championship in the last 3 or 4, at least. Maybe more, actually.
I don't think he's ever won a championship decider, hasn't he? He's won championship, he won with a race to spare, so he must be really hating these championship deciders. Don't go his way. But I don't think he'll be gutted about the mistake today, but I don't think he would have realistically expected going into that race today to have won it, because he did need Mitch to basically have a non-finish, which was would have been very harsh on Mitch in the circumstance. So I'm sure SGP just wanted to win the race, and that's what he'll be kicking himself about today.
I mean, I think for SGP as well, I mean, in every time there's been a championship decider, I think there's been a race at some point where he'd be able to go, that's the race that cost, a little bit like Stephen Fon, so that's the race that cost me. So it's not like he's lost it today. It sounds bad. Here we go. SGP's the new disappointment. It's not like he'd lost it today. He'd already lost it. He only had it to win. There was nothing to lose. He had nothing to lose. He was behind anyway. But I'm sure there'll be a point in the championship where I can't remember. I mean, thinking back, I can't think of a race where he's had a poor result, but I'm guessing somewhere along the line there was a result somewhere that he was not happy with, that he'd be able to go, yeah, that was the one. That's the one where I should have finished better there. Unfortunately, but at the same time, like I say, I think he'll be one of the first to congratulate Mitch, because sometimes you just have to go, he has done a brilliant job this championship, and Mitch has. At the end of the day, Mitch has. Is there anything you want to mention about any of the other guys? I mean, we're talking a lot about the leading group there, but I mean, also we saw them a lot, and the championship was to be decided there. A lot of battles going on further down the field. So any thoughts about any of them?
Yeah, I think we talked about Steve F1's recovery drive, but David Harp also, he was involved in incidents on the first lap and dropped to the back of the field, so he's done a great job as well, I think, to then come back and end up getting quite a comfortable 5th place in the end. So good drive from him. And then in the pack, I think, as we said earlier, I think in general we're good to see kind of minimal incidents in the end. Not certainly big incidents anyway. I think everyone did seem to be showing good awareness and things, and I think that's been a feature throughout this championship, because these cars are probably the fastest cars we've seen in the DGT. So I think it's encouraging to see that has not, but it's not been carnage, because it's so easy when the cars are faster for that to happen. So I think it's been good to see just a general very good level of driving throughout the field.
I mean, sometimes accidents happen. It's always going to happen. It's part of motor racing, even if the motors are electronic in the game. Shit's going to happen sometimes, but for me, I've always viewed it as are people learning, are people improving, and I mentioned it during that race. I remember when, I don't know how, but I kind of remember how when we first raced at Le Mans, can't really remember what cars it was, may have been the Red Bull Juniors, and I mean they're quick cars, not as fast in a straight line, I don't think, but the amount of crashes that were in that race was quite a lot. Over the course of the championships, drivers have improved, they've learned, they've improved, and there's more occasions now, like we see drivers going 2x2 towards a corner, but actually defile into single file round the corner and then continue their battle after. That is where I can go, right, a few seasons ago that may have been carnage, but now it's not. Now there is still occasions where accidents happen and people perhaps put their cars in places that they shouldn't, but they'll learn from that. And that's one of the things as well why when it comes to incidents being reported, sometimes it's not about, I want so-and-so to get a penalty. It may be more about, right, I think so-and-so might need to be made aware of this so that they can improve in the future. I have no problem with that whatsoever, because I think it can be constructive criticism, can be some of the best criticism you can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another driver that impressed me over the season was Connor. I know he didn't do this last race, and I'm keeping his seat warm in the comms box today. But yeah, over the season, he was probably the fifth of those front runners. At times, he has finished on the lead lap with those other four that we've spoken about. So he's probably had his best season in DGT. I don't know where he's finished in the championship.
I think he's finished fifth in the championship, and you are right. It is his best season in DGT. I think it's only his second full season, because he was a reserve driver for some time, then wasn't available, then came back again as a reserve, and then eventually got the full-time seat in the dog of a Toyota in the last championship, and that was a tough one for him to endure, really. It'd have been very easy for him or anyone else coming into that dog of a car and go, you know what, I'm not gonna stick with this, but he did stick with it, and he got rewarded with another seat for this championship. And I think you're absolutely right, he has had some brilliant races over the course of this championship. He's been unlucky on a few occasions. I mean, I think it's kind of with Connor, it's kind of like you're either going to see him going really fast or you're going to see him spinning really fast. Either way, both are exciting. I mean, I haven't got the final standings in front of me, unfortunately, but I do know for a few people, I think they've had some really good seasons. I mean, Jimmy's had a tough one, but he's had some good lessons learnt along the way. Rich has had a difficult season, currently sort of trying to relocate, and so things all using a wheel and then using a pad, and different. So it's been a tricky one for him and not getting a lot of practice. And it's one of those things, I mean, you mentioned about these cars being the quickest car. I think in a straight line they are the quickest cars we've used, but they're not the fastest in the corners, but they're not easy cars to just jump in and drive. So for those people that have had limited practice, I think they've actually done really well to not continually cause carnage all over the place all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see when we switch to different cars for the next season, how people adapt. I think next season people are going back to more of a GT car, which is a very different driving style, different way of racing. But yeah, if they can cope in these cars, then I think they can definitely handle a GT car side by side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know with these cars, I know I personally said to the DGT admins that I think after these cars there needs to be a bit of a palate cleanser, because it's not going to be easy. Like, to go from this car to something much slower straight away is not going to be easy to do because of the speed, but it's doable, but it may make that other car not seem as good. So kind of like the suggestion of, let's get people driving something that's got no grip, and then when we do go to the GT cars, yeah, what you said, they will have no problem racing those cars. And to be fair, the Porsche being able to use first gear is going to be a surprise for some people, because the Mazda, you don't use first gear, but in the Porsche, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens there. Now, I do know as well that the full details have not been announced of that championship yet, because, to be honest, it's not going to be starting until the end of January, I think it is. So details of that will be being announced soon. The car's been announced, the power and weight's been announced, the tyres I think have been announced, I'm not sure, but the actual sort of smaller minor details have not been announced yet, but they will be soon. And in typical Dynamic GT League fashion, there's a few dynamic changes, but don't worry, there's no rain. Another James Bond title, don't worry, there's no rain. I reckon though, they should do another James Bond film with Daniel Craig, yeah, and have it about jumping off a cliff. It could be written by Ian Lemming. That's my last one for the championship, folks. I will mention as well, actually. No, okay, you know what? I've got one more, right? Okay, I'm gonna have to get it in just so I can delete it off my phone, and I'll mention it in a moment. Yes, the next championship is the Porsche, no, right? But there is an event before that, which is the What the Ford, which, for anyone that watches our videos and has no idea what it is about, basically over the course of Christmas, over December and first couple of weeks of January, rather than trying to get another proper championship going, we're going to do something a bit different, a bit of a palate cleanser, as I mentioned. Basically, we're going to take the Ford Ranger on a bit of a drive where there's only one rule, and that is no kamikaze driving, which means you can drive where you want, when you want, how you want. You can hit people, you can cut corners, you can pretty much do whatever you like, as long as you're not wiping people out so bad that you wipe yourself out as well. That's the only rule. It's still a race, but it's a bit of a dirty race. It's an opportunity for some people that may feel they've been bumped a bit too much over the course of a championship to go, right, I'm getting some revenge on you, and knock them into the gravel. That'll be absolutely fine. Cutting corners, fine. Jumping barriers, fine. Do what you like. There's only one rule: no kamikaze. The events are going to start from next Thursday, or this Thursday coming up, where round 1 and 2 will be held on the Thursday. 2 races, both 20 minutes long. Round 3 and 4 will be the next Thursday, 2 races 20 minutes long, and then the next 4 races, done on 2 different Thursdays, will be in January. But it is a championship where drivers, if they're not able to attend because of Christmas, because of shopping, because of whatever it may be, it's okay, they don't have to attend. It's not like they're going to lose their seat in the next championship if they can't make it. This is all about just having a bit of fun and driving some cars like madmen, or driving cars like Maldonado. It's going to be a bit bonkers, and if we're able to do race videos for them, we will do it, but it is definitely going to be something very, very different. The best way I can kind of describe it is it'll be a little bit like the Aussie truck racing, the stadium truck racing, but where you can cut corners and crash into people.
Yeah, that's the way to describe it. You can drive it like Maldonado, but not like Roman Grosjean.
You know, I can't believe the best joke of the season is that there. Cheers, Steve, you just ruined my comedic street cred. I don't know. And on that bombshell, I got a new electricity supplier from Hawaii. It's a lower tariff.
God.
Right.
On
that note, right, okay, Stephen, thank you very much for joining me on commentary today.
You're welcome. Another great season of action.
Yeah, that it is. Okay, time to have a look at what the confirmed race result is and what that has done to the final championship standings. Okay then, so after a fantastic championship, the final race result is as follows. Demon R finishes in first with a maximum 20 points ahead of Mitch in second place, who with that result will take the championship. Steve F1 managed to finish in third, a couple of points ahead of SGP, so it'll be close between those two in the championship standings. David Hart with a brilliant drive to finish in fifth place there, ahead of SRI, who pretty much always had someone to fend off, and did so brilliantly actually. So 6th place for him. Jimmy, another good result for him, he's finished in the top 8 a few times. 7th place for him today. Bunsell in 8th. Artpal finishes in 9th place, with Twilight unfortunately dropping down to 10th just before the line. I mean, after 50 minutes dropping 3 places in the last 60 yards is going to hurt. Rich Blues finished 11th, so bags 5 points, and he was just ahead of Fluffy Planet in 12th and Hay in 13th. Formula Gary and Jason both DNF, unfortunately. Jason right at the start and Gary right towards the end, so unfortunate disappointment for both of those guys. Okay, let's have a look at the championship standings. I will also mention as well there were quite a few incidents reported, however no penalties applied, but all the information is on the Facebook page. So confirmation of the championship standings then, and Mitch on 156 points confirmed as champion of the Anniversaire de Historique, ahead of SGP, who's on 139 points, only one ahead of Steve F1. That's how close it was. With the victory, Demon R gets up to 130 points. Connor sits 5th, Fluffy 6th, Dave 7th, Twilight 8th. Jason stayed in 9th place without scoring any points there. Bunsell jumps up to 10th on 44, 2 ahead of Rich Blues on 42, and he's joined on 42 by his good rival mate Jimmy, so they share 11th. 13th is Formula Gary, a few ahead of SRI in 14th, Tyler 15th, Artpal 16th on 15 points, and Hay does get into the positive. He manages to get onto 1 point, so well done to him. It's been a very interesting championship in the Anniversaire de Historique in the Mazda 787B. It's been a car that makes a hell of a lot of noise, and it's created a hell of a lot of action. Some good, some bad, some ugly, and that's just Demon R. Okay, thank you very much folks for joining us. Hopefully we'll be able to produce some videos for the What the Ford, because it's going to be a little bit mental, and it is just for fun. The next proper championship will be starting towards the end of January, which will be the Porsche 911 GT3 RSR. It's going to be an interesting championship, that one, especially when all the details are announced. Okay everybody, have a fantastic time over Christmas if you can. Let's just make the most of it, I reckon. Alright, thank you very much for joining. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and yeah, we'll see you all again soon. Have a good one everybody. See you later.